This is another archival upload of some of my previous mix critique videos. I apologize for the vertical format that this video is about to switch to. This is 251 to 255. This mix was sent in by Jordan. I can already tell that you boosted the sub frequencies in the kick way too much. Everything below like 100 hertz is definitely boosted way too much. The high mids in the guitar are a little overpowering. Once the horns come in, you added a lot of high-end information, so that might be why you boosted the low end so much, is to combat the horns. But really, the low end is just really overpowering. I think if you turn the low end down, like everything below like 150 or 100 hertz, and then turn the high mids in the guitar down a little bit so the horns sit in there a little bit better with a slightly lower volume, I think that would help a lot. Also, I'm not big on the horn sound on this. I'm not entirely sure what it is about it, but they just don't sound as good as I think they could.
I tried meditation, yoga, and prayer. All it left me was right back where
the vocals sound pretty good. That organ sounds pretty good. Honestly, I'm getting very much a like live performance vibe out of this. And honestly, if you were like recording a show and you got this sound out of it, it's pretty damn good. But like that's the vibe I'm getting, is like a truly live performance kind of a thing. Not even a live studio thing. Like it sounds like a live set. This mix was sent in by Hayden. The guitars sound pretty good, but like, dude, where is all the low end? I'm not hearing bass at all. I'm not hearing the kick at all. There is absolutely no low end in this track.
I found the serotonin switch inside my head. I found the wake-up button. I found my well to...
Yeah, man, you got like some frequency information below 200 hertz. Where it is compared to how loud the high mids are, it's basically inaudible. Then you also have this huge hole between like 200 and 500 hertz. The vocals sound pretty full, but everything else sounds empty because of what you did to the low end. And honestly, it's making the vocals sound really weird. Because the vocals sound really full and everything else sounds really thin by comparison, the vocals stick out in a weird way. It's like they don't even fit in the track because of the EQ done to everything else. All right, man, I can only assume that you are another person that just has acoustic foam up in their mixing space. I've said it a million times, acoustic foam does actually absorb a little bit of high frequency information, but it does nothing for the rest of the frequency spectrum. So if you have foam in your room, it's gonna absorb high frequency information, and you're gonna hear an overwhelming amount of low end because the high frequency information in your room is being absorbed. So you're gonna crank the high end to compensate a lot more than you need to. This mix was sent in by Nolan. So far, you got a lot of really boomy low end in the kick and the bass. Other than that, you like scooped the crap out of the low mids. Like there's a lot of missing low mid information. Low mids is where you're gonna get most of the overall energy of the track. So when you take out the low mids, it feels like you're just sapping energy from the track. Other than the missing low mids, everything above 500 sounds pretty well balanced, except you probably have a little bit too much, like 2 to 3K in the vocal. It's starting to get a little harsh. But really, the biggest problem is the giant hole in the low mids. If you just filled that back in, this would probably sound a lot better instantly. And honestly, I'm kind of confused what's going on here, because I listened to some of your guys' other tracks, and at least the most recent track sounded really, really good. So I don't know if it's a different mix engineer that you're working with this time. That huge hole in the low mids is really messing with the track. Don't cut the low mids so much in everything you've cut the low mids in. Then other than that, probably just don't boost the high mids and the vocals quite as much. The extra boomy low end might still be a problem after you put those low mids back in, but I have a feeling that with those low mids, it'll probably sit a lot better than it currently is. Just with that gaping hole in the low mids, like the low end response of everything is really off. This mix was sent in by Cheers to Us.
Just tell me it's over, I've been your soldier. Stood at the front door, tears on my shoulder. Does it get older? Maybe a little now. And I never wake up on time these days.
Biggest problem so far is there's way too much distortion on the vocals, and he definitely pushed the high mids too much. That might be just part of the distortion, but like the vocals sound painful. Like you gotta dial that back a little bit. Other than that, I'm hearing some issues with the chord progression, specifically the fourth chord in your chord progression. It doesn't fit with the way the vocal melody is going.
And we gon' battle all the weather, even when it freezes in heaven. Angel eyes can melt the devil. Free falling, pick up the phone. It's me.
Dude, honestly, there's so much high mid stuff going on that those 808s don't feel like they have low end in them. The high mids are so overpowering, specifically from the vocals, but also kind of the strings. Mainly the vocals, just the high mids are so overpowering that it's completely sapping the low end energy from the 808s, just because the overall high to low balance is way off.
Specialize in blowing wealth these days, so long.
Yeah, man, I gotta stop this. This is starting to hurt. Overall, way too much high-end information, specifically in the vocals, but also some of the other synths and the strings and things like that. But mainly the vocals, and also the distortion you add to the vocals. It's kind of cool, but dial it back a bit. But yeah, just the amount of high-end information in this is starting to hurt. This mix was sent in by Ian. All right, man, it's like almost good. Like you got way too much 3K in everything. Like that's got to be dialed back a lot. That's starting to get painful. The lead guitar riff over the top of everything, it seems a little thin. It feels like it could have a lot more low end. I feel like if there was more low end in that, the existing low end stuff would feel like it hits even harder than it does. As of right now, the low end feels just a little lackluster because of the lack of low end in that lead guitar, and just the fact that 3K is boosted so much, it's throwing off the whole balance. Honestly, even the bass part here that's taking the lead, it feels like it's missing all of the low mids. Like you got a ton of that high end attack. There might be a little bit of sub frequency information, but the low mids is where most of the energy of that should come from, and it's just missing. Yeah, man, that's really the best advice I can give you is don't boost that 3K area so much in pretty much everything, and don't take out so much of the low mids out of the lead guitar and the bass here.